And we are live. Welcome, everybody. Breaking news: Russia Ukraine war takes focus. First of all, welcome today. If you noticed, a lot of the live streams have not even given a lot of information on Bitcoin and blockchain technology. You've also probably noticed that the financial markets are lagging right now. And it's just because now that President Trump has most of his cabinet picks confirmed and in, for some reason, the Russia Ukraine war has taken precedent over what to do with this country. And let me say, I believe the primary reason is because the United States has given the Ukrainian people $350 billion to fight a war that they were never going to win. And we gave that money away to them, whereas the EU, the European Union, they loaned the Ukraine $100 billion. So today we watch President Trump invite President Zelensky of Ukraine here to the Oval Office to discuss with him and J.D. Vance, because J.D. Vance has already gone to Saudi Arabia and met with Russian consulates as well as other members of the European Union. And they've come to some primary agreements on establishing peace. One of the things, though, is Zelensky has a lot of hatred for Putin, and understandably so. When countries go to war, generally the presidents or leaders or kings of those countries hate each other. But what it's doing is preventing President Trump and J.D. Vance from negotiating some terms of peace. And what I've already said as it is that this all was prompted by Obama and the Democrats. The Obama and the Democrats always wanted war with Russia. They were intelligent enough to know that to fight a war head on would be problematic. So what they decided to do is come up with an indirect war of attrition, where they would drain the Russian economy by fighting the Ukrainian people and using their resources, and hoping that by attrition, a large portion of the Russian army would die. The end result is very well documented, and most media outlets, even the fake news media, including the Associated Press and the New York Times, and then members of the European news outlets, are all in agreement. So it's very doubtful that this is fakery and speculation, that at least 1 million Ukrainian soldiers have died. In addition to that, there has to be millions of Ukrainian citizens that have died in that process. So we really don't have an exact figure of how many people have died in the Ukraine. It's upwards between 3 to 5 million people. And with that being said, this is very sad because the Ukrainian country and people never had a chance to win this war. But Obama set this up by first, during his term, and I'm going to pull it up right now. He invited Hungary and Poland to join NATO, as well as Turkey. And at that time, Russia had already told the United States not to do that, but they did it anyway. When Obama left, he put 100 NATO troops, which are actually American troops, on the Poland-Ukrainian border. And at that time, Vladimir Putin gave a warning that if the Ukraine tried to join NATO, that would put NATO on the Russian border and Russia would go to war. And President Trump and Vladimir Putin have a lot of respect for each other. And that is the equivalent of Canada joining a NATO with Russia and Russia putting 100 troops on the New York Canadian border. That would prompt the United States to go to war with Canada over that action. And that's what the United States has done. Because let's back up. Obama and the Democrats thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win. So what Obama did, and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, they agreed to set up this proxy war to drain the Russian economy and kill off a portion of the Russian military. Lo and behold, Donald Trump won the presidency. So Hillary Clinton immediately put in motion that Putin was working with using Facebook to help Donald Trump win the election, and somehow Russia, Vladimir Putin, and Donald Trump colluded, and that's how Facebook was used. That platform was used to help Donald Trump win the 2016 presidency. And we found out that Russian dossier was a lie, and it was created by Hillary Clinton to smear and distract from Donald Trump's achievement. So the end result is that now Donald Trump is in office. There's peace between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump and Russia, and everything's great. They rigged the 2020 election. They get Joe Biden in the office, and what does he do? He immediately begins meeting. And let's remember that Trump was impeached because he held up the military aid guaranteed to Zelensky because he wanted to investigate Hunter Biden, Burisma, and the relationship between Joe Biden. So they impeached Donald Trump over that. So now Donald Trump is out of office. Joe Biden is in office. What does Joe Biden do? He immediately gives Zelensky military aid. And that immediately starts the Russian-Ukrainian war. Congress is voting to give hundreds of billions at a time, and the total ends up being $350 billion. And most of this is to U.S. contractors, and then Congress has investments in these military companies on the stock exchange, on the New York Stock Exchange. And the end result is Crimea has already been taken over. They've gone further into the Ukrainian territory. And if they wanted to, they could have ended this war a long time ago. But still, they were waiting to see if Donald Trump was going to be elected president. Donald Trump is president. Now Donald Trump wants peace. The American people, we don't want to give any more money to this war. We don't want to see any more Russian or Ukrainian people die. But Zelensky he wants more weapons. He wants more money, and he wants more weapons, and he wants the land that he's lost to be given back. And that's not going to happen. That's not even an option. When he decided to accept the weapons from the United States, he was dooming himself. And he dumbly believed Joe Biden, who was very incompetent. And now he's working with Donald Trump. And he's come here to the Oval Office after going on a European tour condemning Donald Trump and the United States. And then now he wants to somehow in the Oval Office demand more money or something. And Donald Trump is telling them, look, man, you don't have the cards. You are in a bad position. You have a bad hand. Right now, you need to, and Zelensky doesn't want to call for a ceasefire. And Donald Trump was saying you should at least call for a ceasefire. And Zelensky says, no, I hate Russia. I hate Putin. Okay, that's all right. We're not going to debate that you hate Russia or Putin, but you need to declare peace. And Zelensky will not do that. And that's perpetuating the war. And Donald Trump is saying, look, with us, we could at least negotiate peace. And then you could pay us back by allowing us to mine for minerals. And then everybody will benefit. Zelensky doesn't want to do that. And now they're arguing back and forth on live television. J.D. Vance is going back and forth with Zelensky. And Zelensky speaks very good English, so he could speak English. He doesn't need a translator, nothing like that. And then Donald Trump and Zelensky are going back and forth. And Donald Trump finally has to keep saying over and over, you don't have the cards. You are not in a position. You are not the dictator of these peace terms. You need to call a ceasefire and then let's negotiate peace so you could stop the bullets flying and stop your people dying. And Zelensky will not do that. This gets me to the final conclusion so I can end this podcast for today. I've already said that the end result is that the Poland-Ukrainian border is going to be the Poland-Russian border. Zelensky is not going to back down because he's too ignorant. He's too stubborn. He doesn't have enough leadership experience. He was a former comedian, actor who was put in this position as a puppet government by Barack Obama. Barack Obama got rid of the previous successful Ukrainian president. So Barack Obama participated in regime change, and now they have this problem. So now let's say Poland joins NATO. When did Poland join NATO? Poland joined NATO in 1999. So this was during the Clinton administration. So the Democrats have been doing the, and then let's see when Hungary joins. Not far afterwards. Sweden. So all of these European countries join. Let's see when Turkey. So now, Turkey's been a part of NATO since 1952. Okay. So this has been a problem for a while, and it was going to come to an end. And Zelensky is going to be stubborn, and the end result is he is most likely going to have a short life. I don't see the only option he has now is at some point he's going to have to flee the Ukraine. But then once he flees the Ukraine, the Russian KGB is going to chase him around the world. And so let's do a European map. Okay, so we can get a good look. All right. At how this looks. Okay. So Norway and Sweden are actually large countries. And then there's Poland. And then there's Finland. And then there's Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, the Czech Republic, Germany, Hungary. And so you have Germany, you have Poland, you have Hungary. I'm sure Austria is a part of that. And Belarus, Lithuania, and the Ukraine are a buffer to Russia. And so, and Poland is still too close. Now, Russia could strike Germany just like overnight. If Russia wanted to strike Germany and Austria and Hungary, they could do that overnight in a minute. And so it's been 25 years. Russia's been very patient. And then let's look at where Crimea map. Okay, so now I'm going to, boom, hit this one. Okay, so we look at the whole country of Ukraine. Crimea is actually not that much. So Russia has been very patient. And where I believe what's going to happen is that at the very least, Russia is going to go all the way to Kiev. And Zelensky is complaining about Crimea in the lower region, which is a buffer to Russia. But I don't think that's going to be enough. I think at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that Russia is going to continue till Kiev. And Kiev has a lot of minerals. And that's what the United States is trying to negotiate. Okay, so let's look at it. Yeah, Zelensky. Zelensky was dumb to, he was dumb to think that Joe Biden and the United States were going to stick to their agreement and help him. They lured him into a war he never had a chance to meet. At the very least, his country is going to be divided in the middle. And President Trump has already said that it's going to be already difficult to get a negotiation. And I believe Russia's going to be willing to back off once they get to Kiev, because there's a lot of minerals and they used to already control the Ukraine. So I think once they get to Kiev, they divide the country in half. A lot of valuable minerals. Chernobyl, the former nuclear power plant, is in Kiev. There's a lot of minerals in Kiev to dig. And then that'll be a good enough buffer for Russia, because they will have divided the country in half. And as long as Belarus does not try to do the same thing, Russia will feel comfortable that there's a buffer of Belarus and half of the Ukraine between them and NATO. And if not, Vladimir Putin is just going to initiate an all-out war and take over all of Ukraine. And so it appears that's where things are going. And so I believe at the end of the day that because Volodymyr and is similar to Vladimir, President Zelensky of the Ukraine doesn't want to negotiate. that at the very least, that Russia is going to continue its streak all the way to Kiev, while President Trump tries to talk sense to Zelensky. And I don't believe, after what I just witnessed with the press conference where Zelensky tried to debate in front of the American people live to try to get his argument across, that he's a former comedian and actor. He doesn't have a lot of leadership experience. He doesn't understand the ways of the world. He was dumb and naive to get tricked into this war with Russia by the United States. And so the end result is they're either going to divide up the country at Kiev, and it appears from today's press conference that he's extremely stubborn and naive. And so the end result is, like I've said for 2 months, he's going to have to flee the Ukraine, go to Europe, and seek haven in like Germany. But at this point, from the stance I saw, Russia is going to take over all of the Ukraine, and I think the end result will be that Donald Trump will negotiate with Vladimir Putin on allowing mining to go on in the Ukraine that will benefit the United States, and that they get a wholesale contract. So here's what I believe is going to happen. At the end of the day, after this explosive meeting in the White House, I believe that Donald Trump and JD Vance are going to negotiate directly with Vladimir Putin and give the nod and the green light for Vladimir Putin to take over all of the Ukraine, with the caveat in the agreement that they will negotiate some equitable price for the resources that are mined in the Ukraine. And then that'll allow the United States to recoup its $350 billion investment into the war. And that, even negotiating that, is going to be tough, because Joe Biden pressed Vladimir Putin too far and encouraged and pushed Zelensky too far, and gave him long-range weapons, which Zelensky has used. And so because Zelensky used those long-range weapons by Biden and naively thought that there was a chance that Kamala Harris was going to win and that they would continue to give money, shows his naivete. And so the Ukraine will reunite with Russia, and that's how this is going to end. And Donald Trump is going to negotiate a good minerals deal with Russia, and that is going to end on money. And Donald Trump is going, like I said, Donald Trump at the end of the day is a money guy, so he's going to negotiate with Putin, and he's going to say, "Hey, you already saw me try to meet with this crackpot and negotiate." He wouldn't negotiate. You have the green light to take over the entire country, but before you do that, let's negotiate some minerals deals where you're going to give us a good plug on minerals so we can recoup the $350 billion that we gave this idiot. So that's how it's going to end. And, if Zelensky is around more than 2 more years on this earth, that will be very fortunate for him. I don't see that happening. His stubbornness and his inexperience in politics, especially world global politics. And the thing about it is, the guy is old enough that he remembers when he was a part of Russia. So how could you all of a sudden have some contempt? And 30 years ago, you guys were the same country. So Zelensky is acting like he's like in his 20s, but Zelensky was in his 20s when the Soviet Union broke up. So Zelensky remembers a time in his life, even into his 20s, when the Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union. And so the guy doesn't understand the ways of the world. So with that, I'm out of here. We'll keep you posted on the weekend for updates. With these last cabinet picks, I believe now next week we should have the beginning news of an economic plan. But please be aware that Donald Trump still cannot fully roll out his economic plan until DOJ gets deep into this auditing and finds out where all of this fraud, abuse, and neglect, this money has been going. And to ensure that FEMA and other departments within the federal government do not try to send out money to Ukraine to keep this war going. So with that, we're out of here. Thank you so much. I love you all. We'll be back tomorrow.